Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? So I'm super excited for this video because I wanted to go ahead and do another reviewing recent first impressions. I think the last one I did was something like reviewing April's first impressions, but I think this is going to be just like reviewing recent first impressions because it's been quite a few months obviously, and I have just a random array of products that I've tried in videos as first impressions, and I just went ahead and picked out the ones that I felt like I was comfortable giving a full review on and that I've used a lot, and just giving you guys my 2 cents on the different products. So before we jump in, I did want to mention really quickly, just in case you're curious what's happening with my face, Wednesday's video is basically this look. I just went ahead and changed it because I have limited time to film this week, so I did the little YouTuber trick, which doesn't really matter because I'm telling you now that I did it, but I changed my shirt. I threw on the Natasha Denona lipstick in the shade Scarlet, which is a liquid lipstick. This was like a free gift that I got when I met Natasha Denona, so I was really curious about it. First impression, I had to do 2 layers because it was streaky and it is super dry, like my lips feel tight, but there's also no transfer, so I'm definitely going to keep trying that out and see how I feel about it. I don't think it's horrible. Not sure if it's worth the price tag, though. And then in Wednesday's video, I did an eye look with my new Terra Moons Cosmetics eyeshadows, and I went ahead and really quickly just took this shade right here, which is called Sweet Like Honey, and I threw that all over my lid on top of what I had already previously done. And then I also took this inner corner shade here. I wiped off the inner corner I had before and I put Saturn's rings on top, and suddenly I have a whole new look. So that's what I did. I just wanted to tell you really quickly in case you like this combination because I do think it's pretty. So let's go ahead and jump on into the reviews. So first off, I have the Too Faced Do You illuminating, what is it called exactly? The Fresh Glow Translucent Setting Powder in the shade Translucent Radiant Pearl. So this was a gift from a subscriber. She actually had tried this herself and said it did not work for her, and said, you know, she thought that I would like to try it, and I actually really like this. I was kind of, I don't know, I was a little bit nervous about using this because I had the Do You foundation from Too Faced, and although I did kind of like the finish, I felt like it could have been dewier. People were calling it super dewy. I didn't agree. I thought it was more natural. But it broke me out because it had so many ingredients and so many different scents to it. So I was a little bit nervous about this, but I think that this is definitely a bit safer since it's, you know, not quite that first layer on your skin, and it honestly doesn't even have a super strong smell to it. I guess if you really breathe it in, it does kind of have that like watermelon Jolly Rancher type smell to it, but it's not even something I notice when I'm applying it to my face, unlike the Sweet Peach powder from Too Faced, which is matte, and when you apply it, like, you literally taste the peach. So I just like this because I feel like when I use it really lightly with a big powder brush, it sets my skin, and it just it sets it, and it just doesn't look like anything, which is what I want. I wouldn't even say it just ends up looking super glowy, but it just looks like I didn't even put powder on, but it feels like I put powder on when I touch my skin. It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel tacky or sticky. It doesn't have transfer. So I really like this. I feel like it's just such a nice in between of just not really doing anything but still doing something. It's like an invisible thing. I mean, I know it's powder, but I just really like this. It works for my skin type a lot, and I'm happy to have a powder like this that I really enjoy because I have the Laura Mercier one, which is so beautiful. It's such a nice powder, but it's not cruelty free, and this one is, so I would recommend this one. I think it's really nice if you're looking for something that sets your skin without adding any matteness or any extra coverage, because it doesn't. It's translucent. It's just soft, which is what I really enjoy and reach for. So I've really been liking that, and I'm happy to say that I really love it. Okay, so next I have the Kevyn Aucoin Glass Glow Face Illuminator in the shade Crystal Clear. I did get a few products from Kevyn Aucoin recently, but I just don't feel like I'm ready to review the other ones. However, this, I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on how I feel about it. So this is a liquid highlighter, and I believe you can actually mix it in with your foundation, which, to be fair, I haven't tried yet, and I'm sure I will. But I've just been using it as a highlighter, and the thing with this is, yes, it's kind of a splurge, but a little goes such a long way. It's ridiculous. Like this is, how much product is in here? This is a full fluid ounce. When you use this as highlighter, like I literally need the tiniest little amount. Like I'll show you. Like that. Oh, even that was too much. Like this is so, like it just goes so far. Like, I don't know. I'm just, that right there would probably be all that you need for a nice little highlight to your skin. I'm just going to take the whole thing though and just rub it in to kind of show you the effect on my hand. So there's what it looks like. And I really do love the way that this looks on the skin because it just looks wet. Like it doesn't even, the color for this one is so perfect for me. It doesn't even look like I'm adding a color or a highlight. It just looks like I'm adding like water, like this just dewiness to my skin. So I really, really, really love the way that it looks on the skin. The only thing that I'm not 100% in love with, and the thing that I think would hold people back from buying this, and something you have to get used to, is that this does not set down. It stays very, very tacky. So if you do highlight with this and you touch your skin, like you're gonna feel like cream product. Like it's just a weird feeling. It's not something I'm used to because if I use a powder highlight, you don't feel that. And most cream and liquid highlights that I have, they set down, whereas this does not set. However, it just looks so beautiful on the skin. Even if you do this for a no makeup kind of makeup day and you're wearing almost nothing and you just tap this onto the cheeks, it is so, so nice. I do also recommend being careful with tapping this in because if you're just a little bit too liberal, you can kind of end up disturbing the product that's around it. If you've got bronzer, blush on, you want to be careful with how you tap this in, but it's sticky. That's how I would describe it. It's sticky, which is just strange. It's just weird. But I'm like willing to be okay with that because it is so beautiful on the skin. Like, look at that. Like, I could just do this all day. So I guess this really depends on your personal preference. They do have, I believe, 3 shades available. So you could look into that if you have a different skin tone than me. They do have like a nice, like kind of rose goldy type shade and then a bronzy one. But I mean, that's like the biggest con. Like I said, if you don't want something sticky on your face, I wouldn't recommend this. Okay, so next, another product that was sent to me by that really sweet subscriber, Crystal, is the Fenty Beauty Inda Sun Bronzer, which I was so excited about because this is something I've wanted since it launched, and I just couldn't justify it because obviously my low buy and the amount of bronzers I already have, how long it takes to get through a bronzer. But now that I have it in my life, I love it so, so much. This was definitely like a home run for me. I'm like struggling to open it right now. But here's what it looks like, and I just really, really love this. I feel like it is just the perfect undertone. It's not too pigmented. I feel like you just can't go wrong with this. You can't apply too much. Like, it's just such a nice color for fair skin. I just appreciate it so, so much, and I don't know, I just absolutely love this. I've been keeping it inside my everyday makeup bag, using it constantly. I feel like it just blends in super easy, and I just love the undertones. It's just such an easy product. So there's what it looks like. I mean, I feel like you can even just like barely see it. It's just a very light color for me. See that? Like, I feel like it almost looks like nothing when I swatch it, but that's the beauty of it. It's almost like nothing, but it still adds just a little something, a little bit of emphasis, a little bit of contrast, a little bit of definition to the skin. I don't even know where I'm going. I'm just adding all these words because I really just love this bronzer so, so much, and I feel like it's such a nice shade for fair skin tones, and I've heard really good things of other people talking about like the other shades that they offer. So I don't know, I feel like Fenty did a really, really great job. I also think the packaging is super stunning and beautiful, and it's definitely quickly risen to one of my favorite bronzers of all time. Maybe my favorite matte bronzer. Honestly, I think I like it more than the butter bronzer. All right, let's go ahead and do a palette, and I'm a little bit nervous to talk about this, but this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills times Jackie Aina palette, which looks like this. The packaging is super beautiful. Like, it's such a pretty palette. The color story is pretty. Here's what it looks like. I was so drawn to this when it came out, and I was so excited for Jackie, and the thing is, there's nothing wrong with this palette. There's nothing bad about it. I just feel like it was a bad purchase for me because I just don't reach for it. The thing that I noticed with this is that I tried to film like a week of with this and to do 5 looks, and for one, I just didn't really love the looks that I kept ending up with. Like, they just weren't necessarily my style, and I don't even know, like, I just wasn't in love with the looks, and it took me so long to get 4 looks. Like, it took me like a whole month to film 4 looks with this palette, and I'm like, that tells me something. Like, the quality is really good, the shades are pretty, there's a nice like array of colors, and I think if you have a deeper skin tone, like, these shades are all very, very pigmented and beautiful, and in theory I like the palette, but when it comes to actually reaching for it, using it, liking the looks, like, something just falls flat for me, and I don't know what it is. It's kind of frustrating, but it's just, I got to that point where I'm like, I don't even want to film a 5th look. Like, I don't even want to finish the week of the palette because, like, I just don't even care. And I don't know. Like, I really wanted to love this. And I feel like maybe part of it is that I really like the mattes, but the shimmers are just, they're fine. They're fine for like high-end shimmers, but I just feel like I have so many indie options that are so much better. And it's like, am I going to choose those or am I going to choose this? I'm going to choose the indie. Like, that's just what I reach for. So I feel kind of like a clown for purchasing this just because I never use it. And actually, I went through and I decluttered a bunch of palettes, and I want to do like a blog sale and get rid of them. And I thought maybe I'd do a video so that you could see that I decluttered them. And if anyone's interested in purchasing the ones that I'm going to sell, because I'm only going to do ones that I personally bought myself, I don't know. I think I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to declutter it because I feel like it's new. It hasn't been used that much. There's got to be someone out there who will like it more than I do. Like, it's not even, like, if it was the only palette that I owned, I'm sure I could come to love it and I could come up with looks and stuff, but it's just, I just don't reach for it. So, I don't know. No hate, please. I really wanted to love it. I love the packaging. I use my Ulta points on it, but I don't love it, and I want to love it. It's just a strange thing. Next, I'll do a lipstick. I already talked about this recently, so it's kind of just a little recap. This is the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in the shade London. I bought this because of Hannah Louise Poston. I recently recommended this in my top 10 favorite fall lippies video. And I just love this color so much. It's just such an interesting shade. I don't have anything else like it. I also have a lip liner that matches it, but I'm not sure where it is exactly right now. They have one just called London. I'll go ahead and swatch this really quickly just to show you. It's just honestly the prettiest nude color. It's just a stunning mixture of like a pinky brownie shade, but it almost has a little bit of an orangeness to it. But it's just the perfect amount. It's just the perfect undertone. It's so, so unique, and it's one of the prettiest lipsticks, and I actually have kind of fallen in love with this formula. I feel like this is a amazing liquid lipstick formula for the price and the affordability and like the accessibility. I feel like NYX is a pretty easy brand to get a hold of. They're in a lot of stores and a lot of countries, and I don't know, I'm just absolutely like head over heels with this lipstick color. I think it is so, so beautiful. It's super comfortable to wear, and it's very unique. I don't have anything else like this, and I mean that like truly 100%. Like, I swatched my other pinky nude brown lipsticks next to this, and there was nothing even close, just because it has that like terracotta undertone to it, and it's just so, so unique. So really, really love this. This was part of the gift from Crystal. This is the Fenty Beauty primer, and this is the Pro Filter Hydrating Primer. I think I really want to pass this on to someone else. I want to declutter it. Maybe my sister's coming in town, so I'll see if she wants to try it out, because it is really nice. It's such nice packaging. It's like this luxe bottle, and I want someone to love it, and because it is a pump, I feel like it's super hygienic and easy to pass along, because I'm weird about passing along things that like lipstick. Like, I don't want to give old lipsticks to people because I just feel like that's kind of gross and it weirds me out. So I don't know, but I feel like this is something I'm safe. Like, yes, like no one's gonna get infected, or like, I don't know, it's not even like I'm contagious. But anyways, the whole point of that spiel was that I just don't love this for my skin type. I think that if you had oily skin, this could be a good hydrating primer for you if you just need a little bit of hydration. But for me, I just prefer something a little bit more rich, a little bit more intense. I want a full-on thick hydrating primer, and this just isn't it for me. So like I said, I want to pass it along to someone who will love it, because I know, like, I don't want to force myself to use it. I don't want to force myself to use something that just doesn't work for my skin necessarily. Like, it's not bad, it's just I need more hydration. So this was just a miss for me personally, although the bottle's super cute and I wish I loved it. I wish it worked for me, but I'm not a big fan of that for my skin type, because I do have pretty dry skin. All right, so next we'll go ahead and do another palette, and this is the Queen palette, the Fumi times Juvia's Place collaboration, and I received this in PR. I really like this, but I only use it as a face palette. That's the thing, and I kind of like held off on reviewing this because I'm like, well, I need to try it more and use it for eyeshadow, and I did use it for eyeshadow once and I thought it was fine. But at the end of the day, like, I just don't reach for this for eyeshadow, and like, that's not that big of a deal for me, because the products that I do like in here, I feel like I like them enough to the point that they're worth the price of the palette alone. Like, even if I never use the other shades, like, I like the ones that I use enough that I think it's worth it because it's so affordable. So here's the inside packaging. I think it's super, super beautiful. I really enjoy Fumi. I love her channel. I'm happy that I was able to find her through this collaboration, because I feel like she's just such a bright, just positive light, and that's just the people that I'm always drawn towards. So the shades that I love in here would definitely be, did you hear that? My stomach is growling like crazy. It's probably because I know that there's chocolate cake upstairs. Should I eat chocolate cake at 2 a.m.? Is it 2 a.m. yet? Oh, it's 1:59. There's probably going to be a piece of chocolate cake involved after this video is finished. Basically, total loss of my train of thought. I absolutely love these two shades here. FTV approved is such a beautiful highlighter. I just absolutely love it. I just think it's so beautiful. I did, in my original video, swatch it next to the I swatched it next to the Amrezy highlighter and next to one, I think, from Pixi that was similar. So here's what it looks like. I would say it's a pretty solid dupe for the Amrezy highlighter. It's very, very similar. Looks pretty similar on the skin, and the Amrezy highlighter is no longer available. So if you were looking for something to replace that, I would honestly definitely recommend this palette. I feel like this is a really good alternative. I'm running out of places to swatch. Here, we'll use my arm. So there's what it looks like. I just really like it. It does emphasize my texture just a little bit, but overall I just think it's such a beautiful shade, and I just love the glowiness, so I have been using that a ton. And I also really love this shade, Sister to Sister. It's such a pretty peach tone. Like, who doesn't love a peach blush? Psycho, that's who. So I love the combination of those two shades together. Like, I love those. Such a match made in heaven. I also really like this shade Ole. I feel like that's her husband's name, and I can't even remember how she pronounced it, but this is a really bright red, and you see that swatch and you're kind of scared. However, if you go in with a blush brush and it's more of like a duo fiber, just like a very wispy blush brush, you can actually take this shade and, like, I'll show you, just using it very lightly, get like the most minimal kind of color out of it. And I've used this as a blush and I was able to make it work. It just gives such a beautiful tone to it. I mean, it looks kind of weird in that swatch there, but I really love red and pink blushes depending on what your skin tone is. I feel like there's just something so beautiful about using a red blush, because when you blush truly, like, you don't, or most people, I don't know, I haven't like done a scientific analysis of what shade people blush, but I feel like you blush red, and if you're very fair, that might come across more as pink, which you can take red and make it pink if you use it sheer. So basically, I just love red blushes because I feel like it just looks so natural and it looks so healthy and just like like true blush skin. It reminds me of the one shade from NARS. They have a really bright red that I used to lust over, and I would add it and take it out of my cart for so long. Like I was like in high school, like just lusting over this bright red blush that I like could not afford. So I don't know, I feel like I really like this one, and like I said, I do, because I'm super fair, have to go in with it pretty lightly, and I just use a little bit. I blend it pretty well. I use the right type of brush, and it all works out. So I'm a fan of the palette. Like I said, I don't really reach for every single color. So the pink I haven't used a whole ton, the purple and the copper, not exactly 100% my cup of tea, but the other shades I like so much that I use it all the time. And like I said, those are shades that you could use as eyeshadow, but I don't know, this color scheme for eyeshadow is pretty and it's okay, but it doesn't really like pull my interest or like really intrigue me. I don't really remember, like when I'm doing my eyeshadow, I'm like, what eyeshadow palette should I use? And I'm like, oh, that blush palette. Like I don't really think about it, but when it comes to actually doing face makeup, this comes to mind, and I pull for it quite a bunch, and I've really been enjoying it, and it makes me happy that it's such a like cool collaboration with a woman of color, a mature woman, like a collaboration with a woman who's 50 years old, I think is how old she is, 50. Like, I feel like that's just unheard of. So it makes me so happy to use it, and just good feelings, basically. All right, so next I have the last palette I'm going to be talking about today, and this is the Sweater Weather palette from Max Up the Makeup. I did receive this in PR, and this palette I was really grateful to receive, just because I went back and forth on purchasing it myself, and at the end of the day I decided I do like it. I think it's pretty. I'm happy they're doing a neutral palette because it makes sense for their brand, but I don't need it kind of feeling, so I decided I wasn't going to purchase it, and they reached out to me and said that they would be sending it to me. So I was excited because, like, look at this. Like, it's fall in a palette, and I love fall, so I'm such a sucker for the packaging to begin with. They also have a really nice mirror. Their other palettes beforehand have been 9 pan, and this one is 15, so they definitely added 6 more shades. I don't know why I said it like that. So here is the color story, and I do like this, and like I said, I think it makes sense for their line because the other palettes they did were pretty colorful, and I feel like every brand should probably have one neutral palette if it suits them and if they feel like that's something that they want to sell. Like, it makes sense to me to have a little something for each consumer and to have something that would work for different people and not just all the same for, I don't know. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. So the reason I was slightly drawn to this palette is because I really love this shimmer here. I love the green tones. I love this like mustardy tone here. And then like the really bright reddy tones I thought were really, really pretty. And I feel like at the end of the day, I do like this palette. I think it's a nice palette. I think it's good quality. The only shade I'm not 100% in love with is this shade Flannel right here. I feel like this could have been formulated a little bit better. It's a little bit dry, not as pigmented as the other shade. It's just like the one like slight dud. You can still get it to work a little bit, but it's just not the best shade. And I like the looks that I've done with it. I love the matte formula. I feel like it's buildable, but pigmented and creamy and easy to use. So I really love the Max Up the Makeup matte formula. I wish that there was a better shimmer to matte ratio because there's 9 mattes and 3 shimmers. Wait, no. There's 12 mattes and 3 shimmers. I'm really tired. Can you tell? It's definitely, my bedtime is showing. It just is not my personal taste. I would prefer for there to be a little bit more shimmers. It doesn't have to be half and half. Honestly, I could have more shimmers than mattes in a palette as long as I have a nice gradient and a little bit of each, like I like to have something a little bit light. I like to have something medium. I like to have something deep. As long as I have a little bit of each, I can make it work. But this, I just feel like I wish that there had been maybe like another, like something that like a really burgundy shimmer would have been really pretty here. Like instead of flannel, like a nice burgundy could have been cool. I also don't really love all the tones that are in here, like the shade Fleece and the shade Cream. Very unnecessary for me. I don't really reach for those type of shades barely ever. I also feel like I wish the greens had been a little bit more grungy. I think that would have made a lot more sense with this color scheme. They're just so bright that it's almost like you'll start off with a fall look and then you add the green and it just makes it like kind of spring or summer, and I found myself going in with the browns mixed in with the greens in order to make them look more grungy rather than the shades that they truly are by themselves. So I like the quality of the palette overall, but I just don't feel like it's the perfect palette for me. I like it enough to keep it, and I'll use it and I'll reach for it every once in a while, and I do really like the shade Frosty. I like it as an inner corner highlight and on the cheekbones. And I'll definitely use this in combination with their other palettes. I think that'll be a fun way to mix it up and add some more shimmers and diversity to the looks and whatnot. So, like I said, it makes sense in their line. It's just, it's not the perfect palette for me. We have one more thing from Juvia's Place. And again, these were sent to me as PR because I'm on the Juvia's Place PR list. For some odd reason, I feel like an imposter. But I have 3 shade sticks here. These are the colors I went ahead and picked out for myself. I just did the 3 lightest shades. I know that there's a bunch of shades that you could technically use for like contour, but that just seemed so overwhelming for me. I just would rather just use them only as foundation. So I have the shade Tokyo, which is the lightest color, and I've been reaching for that somewhat. And then the next shade I have here is Aberdeen, which I believe is the second lightest shade in the line, and this is the one I've been using the most. I actually have like cat hair going on. So I've been using this one, and it's been in my everyday makeup bag. I really, really like this foundation. I also, just to show you really quickly, have the shade Nicaragua, which is just a little bit deeper. I kind of can make it like mix and make it work, and maybe like during like summer when I have half a shade darker than I am right now, I could use this on its own. My thoughts on this foundation would be that I really, really like it. I definitely prefer to apply this with a brush. You can with a sponge. I feel like some stick foundations I apply with a sponge and it just does not work. Like you have to drag the sponge across your face, which is not what I prefer to do. However, this is creamy enough that if you wanted to use a sponge, if like the sponge was the only thing you had, you could. But again, I prefer to apply this with a brush. I really love the Real Techniques contour brush. I think that it applies stick foundations so nice, or it blends them in really nicely. It doesn't necessarily apply them because you apply them as a stick. So I feel like this gives me a good medium coverage. I've seen people use this and they like go in and they do like 7 stripes and 7 stripes, and then they just like color in their full forehead. And that's just not the way that I like to apply a stick foundation. I feel like that's just too much for my personal preference. I feel like that's probably borderline cakey, like just that would not work for my skin. I like to go in with a little bit, and again, if you use a hydrating primer first and then you use a good brush, you can really blend it in without it being streaky and without having to go in with so much product. I also just like the finish. I feel like it's like a natural finish, leaning just a touch on dewy. Like it just looks very soft on the skin. Oh goodness, I don't know what that was, but as I wear it throughout the day, I feel like it does continue to look really nice and dewy. And I wear this on its own. Like I've worn it like as like a concealer kind of, and just like done a little bit, like if I have a little bit of acne, and just like covered up, and I'll blend it in with my fingers and like keep it moving. And I don't know, I just feel like it's very versatile, and I love a stick foundation, so I'm gonna keep using it and keep enjoying it, and it just works for me. The only thing I will say though is I've noticed with this is that it does really emphasize my smile lines. Like it like really sinks in there. So if you do have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles, then maybe this is something you'd want to purchase from Ulta so you can return it if it doesn't work for you, or maybe it's not, maybe it just wouldn't be your favorite foundation because it does sink into those lines. I normally just tap it out and it's really not that big of a deal. Like I have lines from smiling, so be it. Who cares if foundation sinks into them? It's just something that I observed. Definitely not something that would stop me from wearing the foundations. Also, I really like the packaging. I just have to note as I'm putting them into my little foundation drawer that everything else is like black and gunmetal and nude and blush, and they're just like this bright coral. I think that's really fun, and it's a good like a good symbol of Juvia's Place and the colorfulness and the brightness and just everything that Juvia's Place is. So those are all of my reviews for recent first impressions. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, definitely let me know. I want to do them more and to be better and more accountable about keeping up with the things that I try and using them enough to truly give my genuine opinion. There's other things I've done a first impression on in the last few months that I didn't feel ready enough to do this. So like I said, if you want to see another one of these, just let me know and I might do it. If I'm being honest, like being real about myself, because I'm such a mess that sometimes it just takes me a really long time to do things, and I'm gonna stop beating myself up about it. I just want to be better. Like, it is what it is. It's okay. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.